and we'll just wait for it to come up here and we'll kick things off. Of course, we have our good friend Jennifer Bleem here with us. And Jennifer, how you doing today?
I am great. I am great. Thanks for having me on. I always love these.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you here, and we're going to talk about a topic that, nobody's heard of yet. I mean, this is fresh, brand new,
Brand
uh,
new.
brand new. We're going to talk about AI being everywhere, right? Um, so our topic, AI is everywhere, but when it comes to selling, most clients are still skeptical, and that's going to change today, and it's going to be based on our conversation here with Jennifer, and we're going to learn how to turn AI into to trust, value, and new revenue. And you guys ready to talk about AI, right?
Just
But in
sold 3 co-pilot licenses today, as a matter of fact.
Love it. Congrats.
nice. Nice.
Hmm?
Well, I do want to ask you
You
more about
should.
that, but
But
we'll
right
jump
now
into
it's
that
the
in a little
24th.
bit here. And with that being said, I'm going to have Jennifer kick things off. Those that are here on the call know Jennifer, but anybody out there in YouTube land is that's not familiar with Jennifer, if Jennifer, you could give an overview, your introduction, that would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So, as I said, thank you for having me on. I always love doing anything I can to help MSPs, train them, up level, upskill them. I love the MSP industry because my husband has a MSP. We started as a franchise owner many, many years ago, about 20 years ago, stepped out of the franchise, which is a whole different conversation, and
Yeah.
shifted from break fix residential to managed service for businesses back when managed services was barely even a term. And I was helping him with his sales and marketing. From there, I pivoted over into the vendor space, worked for a well known marketing company, and then helped a cybersecurity company grow, scale, and get acquired by Continuum, which is now ConnectWise. And in the midst of that, that was really my first opportunity to train MSPs on how to sell and how to market. I am a lifelong student of sales and marketing. And over the last 6 months or so, I've really shifted from being known as that cybersecurity salesperson to talking more about AI and helping MSPs become AI experts and AI thought leaders. I like to frame it AI category of one, and we'll talk about that a little bit today. So, Dan, do you want me just to jump into my topic?
Yeah.
How do you want to? Okay, perfect. So,
Yeah. Go right
I
ahead.
use this term AI category of one because the reality is that most of you are in a very crowded, maybe commoditized market where it's a little bit of a race to the bottom, or it's difficult to compare your solution stack to somebody else's solution stack. Most MSPs and MSSPs largely sound the same to the end user. And even if you deliver exceptional customer service, even if you have a great buyer's journey, even if you've been through like the branding courses and things like that, it is tough to differentiate yourself. Now, about 5 years ago, if you added cybersecurity, that was a really good differentiator, especially if you were at the beginning of that wave. But today, if you say, well, we provide cybersecurity or we align to the NIST framework, you are in a very crowded marketplace again. And so I believe that AI is the way for you to position yourself as a category of one. And I've got some data to share with you, and then I've got some anecdotal data to share with you to support that. The first piece of real data, the US Chamber of Commerce just released a report in August, so last month, and they revealed that 96% of small business owners are actively looking for, they termed it emerging tech. And they specifically mentioned AI in their businesses and crypto in their businesses. So a way to accept cryptocurrency. And so 96% looking for emerging tech is unheard of in this industry. I don't think there was ever a time where 96% of companies were eagerly looking for cybersecurity solutions or cloud services or a backup solution or a new phone vendor. Like 96% is insane. So that's why I say if you can position yourself as an AI expert before the masses do, it is a big way to position yourself as a category of one because your clients are in that 96%. Maybe it's only 96% of your client base, but they're in that wave, that mass of humanity who want AI. So that's data to prove that. Then I want to share anecdotal data and we'll get into okay, so how do I do this? If you just indulge me one more story. I just wrapped up an 8-week cohort with MSPs, teaching them how to sell AI. How do we position you as an AI thought leader? How do you sell it? What are you selling? How do we price it? Like all the things that many of you want to know. And I loved it when Ken from Sawyer Solutions said, you know what, we're getting people calling us or seeking us out at networking events, asking us about AI solutions. And that is almost unheard of with traditional MSP, MSSP services. Most people are not getting inbound requests, inbound calls to talk about their EDR solution or their backup solution. It just is it generally doesn't happen. Now, there are some people that have their marketing on lock and they're getting inbound calls all the time, but broadly, that doesn't happen. And I asked Ken, I said, okay, we just worked together for 8 weeks. How long had you been talking about AI before that 8 weeks? And he's like, maybe a month, maybe two. So let's go on the outside and assume it was 4 months that they were sort of talking about AI. They had done a couple of small trainings about AI. They added something to their website, and then on occasion, they would talk about it on social media. And in 4 months, it moved the needle. And so that is because we've got this perfect storm of your clients looking for AI and not a whole lot of MSPs talking about it yet. And that spells opportunity. And I like opportunity because opportunity should lead to revenue, and we all like revenue. We all like money. So I want to start with talking about how to read the room and understand which of your clients and maybe which of your prospects are ready to talk about AI and might be AI leaning in. They might be willing to have that conversation. Throughout this talk, I'm going to pepper some use cases because I want to take this from theoretical down into real life. Like, what kind of things could you sell? We're going to do some sales fundamentals, and then I'm going to talk about a couple of offers you might do. And I think I have about 5-ish minutes to do all of that, and then we'll open up for Q&A after that. And I've got plenty more where this comes from. So if you want to chat offline, I'm happy to do that. So how you need to think about this from a standpoint of which of your clients, which of your prospects might be interested in AI is think about it like a scale of 1 to 5, with your 5 being kind of the AI enthusiasts and the ones being like they're resistant. Maybe they've even created a policy where my team members will not use AI. I'm the CEO and I'm saying no. And so there's kind of this continuum, and you need to be sensitive to where they are on the scale. If they're leaning into AI, you can skip the basics. You can move right to, hey, do you have any questions about using AI securely? Do you want to talk about some use cases? Like you can just go right in and have that conversation. If they're at the other extreme, you probably want to avoid using the term AI and instead use terms like automation, optimization, saving time and money. So maybe the solution you put in place is AI driven, but if they're a little more skeptical, then just don't use the word AI. Just say we're playing with some technology to optimize your workforce, make money, save money, improve customer service. Do you want to have a conversation about that? And then kind of in the middle, there's kind of this continuum. In the middle where they're kind of neutral, this is where you're going to listen probably 2 or 3 times as much as you talk. This is where you're asking really good questions, open-ended questions, and just saying, are you curious? Is this something you want to approach this quarter, next year? Like where are you at? You're just curious, you're just probing to find out where they are so that you don't get all excited about the technology when they're like, we're not quite ready. We're just kind of observing. And so it's important for you as a seller, especially if you're in that founder role, to be sensitive to where your clients and your prospects are on this continuum. Because even though we hear about it probably every single day and we have an idea of some use cases, they might still be pretty skeptical. So just be cautious. So one example of, I want to give you some examples so you know how to approach these conversations and frame these conversations is an AI intake assistant. So if you picture like a legal firm, and just picture the attorneys, or probably more their staff, chasing down like incomplete data, chasing down, hey, we need you to do this intake form before we have the initial meeting. And then it's the initial meeting that leads to revenue for the attorney, because a lot of them will do that initial intake meeting for free. But that means that there is a bottleneck that if that intake form isn't filled out, they can't have the intake meeting and therefore they can't make money. And so right now, attorneys are doing things, dare I say, the old-fashioned way, where they're manually following up. Maybe they have some email sequences, and that's it. And so if you created an AI-powered intake assistant that perhaps would guide the prospect through completing the form, validating some of the responses, clarifying things, and then maybe even syncing the data back to the CRM, maybe even syncing back to their calendar solution or whatever. Great, we now have the intake form filled out. The next step is to schedule your intake interview. How's Thursday at 3? And if you can automate all of that with AI, then all of a sudden you have solved a business pain point. And if you hear nothing else from me today, understand that all sales is solving a business problem and leaning into the impact that solving that problem has on the business. So that's really getting into the selling conversation. And I want you to sell based on curiosity and not necessarily technology. So I just said AI agent, and you'll hear me saying AI assistant. You don't necessarily need to talk about the technology behind it. In fact, I don't want you to talk about the tech behind it. I don't even want you touching the tech behind it. I can certainly talk about how do you build these things without touching the tech. There's some very cool ways to do that. But your clients don't care how it's going to happen. They just want the outcome that they want. So curiosity questions will sound something like, would it help if we collected all of that information and scheduled the intake meeting automatically? Or, we're researching safe ways to use AI inside of businesses. Do you want to hear what's working? And so you're just kind of probing to say, is this something you're interested in now, later, never, soon? And that's what you're listening for. So that's your curiosity. You put your curiosity ears on and just ask good, open-ended questions. Next, lead with some simple offers. Just think of your typical silver, gold, platinum. Maybe silver is simply bundling together a chat bot and some employee awareness training specifically for AI, probably much like you're doing security awareness training today. So instead of security awareness training, it is AI awareness training or even AI use training. And there are vendors in the channel that can do that. So that might be your silver package as a chatbot, and it's employee training, and you'll bundle that with like a setup fee and a monthly. So it fits very well with the MSP model. And we won't talk about the middle, but the high end could be, we're going to advise you on tools. We're going to have a virtual AI officer working with you. Maybe you get monthly or quarterly meetings. Those could be monthly or quarterly group meetings. And so you're creating a virtual AI officer offer, and you'll probably bundle it with the chatbot, and you'll bundle it with other services. And again, setup plus a monthly retainer. And so it dovetails so well with what you're already selling. So start with something simple and then expand from there. So one other example of an agent, and then I'll wrap us up, and then we can open it up for Q&A. Pretend like you have a real estate agent. Actually, let me pivot from real estate to talk about schools, because that's an easier schools, daycares, anybody who has people they serve, but there's parents involved. So I'm going to say school, daycare. The example might be a little bit more expansive than that. But what we're seeing is that the daycare or the school has a person or people dedicated to doing nothing more than answering the questions from the parents. And listen, I was a parent with kids in school. Now I am a parent with an empty nest, which is fabulous. It's a lovely time of life. But when I was a parent, I had a whole lot of questions. Are we really closed on Monday, or is that one of the federal holidays? And I know you gave me a calendar, but that was 6 months ago and I lost it, right? And I poked around on your website and I can't find the calendar because your website's a mess too. And so those kinds of questions are, what's the menu for this week again? My son said, don't ever order that French bread pizza again. It was soggy and I can't remember if French bread pizza is Friday or Thursday. Or, hey, you said something about new PE uniforms and there was a deadline and I don't remember if that deadline passed or not. And do I owe you money? I'll write you a check for the PE uniforms. All of those millions and millions and millions of questions. But the reality is there's probably only 50 questions, maybe even less than that, that are answered over and over and over again. And so what we're seeing is MSPs will put either a voice bot or a chat bot on a website that answers those questions. And especially with schools where the menu changes every week and the schedule might change every month. The sporting schedule certainly changes every season. There is a very real need for updating that, which is maintenance. And of course, you want it to work right, which is monitoring, but they don't typically break. But that way you can position it as a project up front to feed all of the data into this. And then there is management or monitoring, which is your monthly recurring revenue. So I'm giving you some easy ways to sell AI that dovetail into your existing client base that match your normal selling rhythm. So I want you to understand that you don't necessarily need to be that AI expert. You simply need to realize how AI can serve your clients and then figure out how to have those conversations with people. So you're talking about business impacts that you can solve using technology, which you're the technologist for your clients. And that's the way that you're going to start to position yourself as an AI expert in your industry and in your community. So that was probably close to 15 minutes. I didn't start a stopwatch, and I know we started, we did some chit chat, but let's
Yeah,
open it up to Q&A. Dan, you can pepper me with questions. Those of you listening, watching can as well. And let's just have a dialogue.
What is this
absolutely.
AI you speak of?
Oh, artificial intelligence. Oh, I didn't define the term. My mistake.
Yeah.
AI, artificial intelligence. And what I'm really talking about is less deploying tools, although you can deploy Copilot, you can deploy other tools, and more crafting solutions that your clients can use. So AI agents, assistants, automations. And I don't want you building them yourself because you're probably maxed out and your team is fully utilized as well. I want you to actually, we have a whole resource library of vetted vendors who can build these things for you.
You brought up a very interesting point of with AI and not leading with the term AI, but automation, and really it's no different than anything else, right? Where it's all about that business outcome, and
Yes.
if we haven't matured to a point where we're talking about business outcome, we better start now,
Yeah.
because when we start to introduce a topic like AI, we might scare people off, scare organizations off, those that feel like it's something that it's not, that it's scary and it's, Big Brother or whatever the negative vibes that might be out there,
Yes.
and and focus on really what it is and what it can do for that organization. Because as I always say, it's not what we do, it's what we do for you. And
Yes.
that's what makes the big difference, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting. When we first started this AI monetization launchpad, the MSPs in the program were really struggling to see, well, like, what would I sell? And so I said, well, let's just think in terms of categories because I like frameworks, I like boxes because that's how my brain works. It's just very logical. I need to be able to
Yeah.
have four headings and I move the post-it note under whatever heading it goes in. That's just the way that I think. And so we started putting use cases under these four headings: save money, save time, which then saves you money. But anyway, save money, save time, make money, or improve customer service. And then we kind of broaden that customer experience to include your team's experience because they're not exactly customers, but it falls under that. And those are the four most common use cases. So we then created these color-coded flashcards, for lack of a better term, like the make money that was like gold because money is gold, and then save money was green because money is also green.
Yeah.
Customer experience was like purple, and the other one was a different color. I don't know. And then inside of each of those, we started brainstorming like what would these use cases be? And we started with problem, impact on the business, which is kind of the current state. If you've ever read Gap Selling, it's like, here's your current state, here's the future state. So we have problem and then current state. And then the future state is, but after they employed this agent, automation, assistant, chatbot, whatever it was, here's the data. And we pulled data and we use Perplexity. I like Perplexity for data. We pulled data and we were like, here's a study of schools, multiple schools that put in an agent to talk to the parents or an agent on the website. And here's the data that says how much time or what percentage of time it shaved off of this team member's day-to-day time. And so it's like, okay, if we saved Sally 23% of her day, what else could she do? And I guarantee you, in any thriving business, Sally has plenty of stuff to do. Like, none of us are like, oh, it's 2 o'clock. What am I going to do the rest of my day? No, instead, it's like, oh my goodness, it's 6 o'clock and I still have so much to do. So, freeing up Sally's time from, instead of talking to the clients over and over and over, or in a medical, answering the same questions over and over and over to the client or the patient, frees up that human's time to do what humans do best, which could be strategy, it could be marketing, it could be a multitude of things depending on the company, how they're structured. So yeah, business impact is so huge.
And let's talk a little bit about, I mean, before ChatGPT, I mean, so AI existed well before ChatGPT, right? But people view ChatGPT as the birth of AI.
Yeah.
So we are, in my opinion, we should be incredibly grateful for ChatGPT helping to bring it to the mass level,
Hmm.
helping people to understand the power of what it can do for us on a daily basis. And that makes our jobs, and it has made our jobs so much easier in educating our clients of how automation and, digital workforce and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera can help them in their business, right?
Yes, I totally agree. It's interesting because I'm employing some AI things in my business, and we're probably a month away, so I don't want to tease what they are. But we made a pretty big investment in AI, and we're going to be doing some very cool things. And now that I have an AI trusted advisor, because my MSP is not diving into AI right now, that's fine, that's his choice. But I am. And I'm like, okay, if I can't get my advice from my MSP, then I'm going to go elsewhere, which should be a
Right.
warning to everybody listening to this. That's exactly the same motion that your clients are going through. Like, well, I want AI. My technology person that I have trusted for years isn't talking to me about AI, so I'm just going to go out and do the research myself. Now, I'm intelligent enough that I vetted security and I vetted what tools and how do I know my data is secure and all of this, but your clients probably won't. But now that I have an AI builder that I kind of consider Caleb part of my team, we're working on one big project, but I'm like, wait, could I use that to create a course? I've always wanted to create a course for my best-selling sales book. And he's like, yeah, 100%. And I'm like, okay, all of a sudden, this thing that was way down on my priority list and never made it to the top of my quarterly rock because the juice just wasn't worth the squeeze. Now I'm like, because of I could get that done in probably 8 hours instead of a quarter. And I'm like,
Right.
that's wild to me. And now I'm like, now that I feel like now that I'm doing this little thing with AI, I'm like, oh, we could use AI to do this. We could use AI to do this. And he is now my sounding board. Yes, that's possible. Yes, this is approximately how much it would cost and how long it would take to roll out. And then it's up to me because he doesn't really act as my strategic advisor, whereas I think MSPs should. But it's up to me to say, okay, I can do that, but should I? Not from an ethical standpoint, but from a distraction standpoint, because every project that I add to my plate is another project that I can't add to my plate. And so, but the fact that I now have someone that I can talk AI to and be like, hey, here's a bottleneck. Let me just give you a for example. Here's a very real bottleneck I'm running into. I have 50 hot people interested in my AI offer. They are in my CRM. But broadly speaking, all I have is first name, company, email address, sometimes last name, not usually though. Usually it is just Bob at ABCIT. Well, I would like to do some follow-up phone calls. I have Apollo, I have Active Campaign. They don't sync particularly easily. But is there a way to employ AI to make them sync better? Is there a way to use AI to create semi-custom video scripts and feed them to me in Slack? So all I have to do is get on Zoom and, skim through that. So there's just all kinds of things that weren't possible even 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And now the ideas are flowing because I have a person that I know can build them for me.
Absolutely. And, we all know Sam Altman, the
Yep.
CEO of OpenAI. He indicated that we will soon see a $1 billion company that is created entirely by one individual using AI.
Yes, I
Now,
just think it's
think about that.
fascinating.
I mean, that's
Okay,
just,
yeah, go
it's
ahead.
just it seems surreal, it seems impossible. But if that can happen, why couldn't you take your business, if you're doing below $1 million, let's say your MSP is doing, $750,000, why couldn't you take it to the next level and be $1 million MSP or a $2 million MSP by leveraging AI? And why couldn't you help your clients grow their business to the next level by leveraging these tools?
I'm looking for a screenshot. I thought I had emailed it to myself. Otherwise, oh no, that's not it. Oh, I did. I slacked it to myself. Let me see if I can zoom in on this just a little bit. Okay, it's not. It was. I took a picture of a I took a picture of a slide at an event that I was at last week. Dan, it might be me, but it is. Oh, there it goes. Okay. I was obviously clicking the wrong buttons. Yes, I have used Zoom before. And this is I'm gonna guess they're an AI company. I'm guessing they're probably a $5 million company. I don't have data around that, so don't quote me. But this is their marketing team. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. So the green ones are real people, the white ones are AI team members.
Mm,
So there's a director of marketing, that's a human. There's a marketing manager, that's a human. The marketing manager is managing
mm,
7 team members, six of which are part of their AI team. So an email marketing team member, which is probably an agent or a custom GPT. Someone who's
yeah.
all about copywriting, probably an agent or a custom GPT. Press releases, the same. Product launch specialist, the same. Graphic designer, I have a feeling this is probably Gamma, which is a tool. Feedback coach, which has a typo, which I just think is fascinating because we're still humans, so we still make
Yeah.
mistakes. this feedback coach, and I'll stop my share just because that illustrates the point that we can build a team even if we don't have a team. And to Sam
Right.
Altman's point, one person running a billion-dollar company is just fabulous. But
Yeah.
the feedback coach, here is how it came about. And I want to share the story because it illustrates how we all need to be thinking about bottlenecks and in our business, especially if we're the founder or we're an executive. Time is our biggest bottleneck. And so the speaker was saying that she has a marketing manager who is reasonably skilled but makes silly, and it's a human, and makes
Yep.
silly mistakes. So the marketing manager would bring things to the director of marketing, so the senior executive, and she found herself correcting the same things over and over again. This word isn't capitalized. This word is misspelled. Do you see how these bullets aren't indented? That's not our company tone. That doesn't match our branding and style guide. Like whatever. It became just like the chat bot at the school was like the same 50 questions over and over again. This director of marketing was correcting the same mistakes over and over again. That needs to ring alarm bells with us because if we're saying the same thing over and over again, we can train a bot, a custom GPT, an agent, or it doesn't matter.
Right.
It is the 2025 version of a checklist. What the book, the checklist manifesto. It's kind of
Yes.
like putting the checklist manifesto into an AI tool, and she now has told her marketing manager, do not bring anything to me until you ask Franny, the feedback coach, to review it first. Then it
Yep.
comes to the director of marketing, and she's like 99% of the time, it's perfect. And how much easier is it to be like, yep, looks good. Push that live. Then
Yep.
please change this headline again. Please refer to the style guide. Did you use the checklist? Like, I understand we have to do that with humans. What is it? Once you've told someone, your team member, something once, you're, 1/12 of the way there. You just have to repeat it 12 more times. I don't like doing that. I feel naggy. And what I end up doing is, okay, it's good enough. And I don't
Yep.
like good enough. I really like perfection. And now we can get perfection by saying, I don't like to do it. It's taking too much of my time. I'm doing the same thing every time. Let me document what I'm doing, program it into AI, and introduce. She actually introduces these people by name, shares a resume, which ChatGPT or whoever creates the resume, and then a very clear, you go to the feedback coach before you come to me. And I'm like, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. She identified a bottleneck and she solved it with an AI team member. It's just brilliant. So
It
I,
is.
I think it's lovely.
Everything MSP has been made up of two individuals. There's me and Talon. So I started everything MSP 2007. So we're in our eighth year. Things didn't really take off for us until the pandemic, March 17th of 2020. And that's when we started having weekly calls, daily calls, actually, at that point.
Yes.
However, we have a third person in our company. Her name is Bertha. Bertha is any AI tool that we use in our business, whether it be, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whatever, we refer to that AI tool as Bertha. So Talon and I will always be like, let's check with Bertha. Let's see what
Yes.
Bertha has to say on this. And it is amazing the amount of things that we've been able to accomplish in such a quicker fashion by leveraging those tools.
Yes.
And Jay, were you going to say something?
No, just coughed. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Um, but it truly is amazing because we've been able to do things in a much faster way than we ever have. And it doesn't mean that someone is doing things for us. It doesn't mean that those tools are doing our job. It's assisting us with what we're doing. It's not like we're saying, "Hey, write this blog," right? I've got a weekly blog I write, and will I go through and ask for some ideas, have it polish it up? Sure, because why wouldn't you?
Sure.
You know, before, those type of tools, I would throw it to Talon and say, Talon, what are your thoughts on this? Um, but it that didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of training.
Yes.
It took a lot of work to get these tools to recognize, who we are, what is our vision, what are we trying to accomplish, who is our audience, and we can leverage those same things for our clients, but we need to do that in-house first. You
Yes.
know, I know I've said it, many times, and I hate saying the good old, you got to eat your own dog food, but you got to eat your own dog food. You
Yeah.
can't go sell, automation. You can't go sell leveraging having a digital workforce, like having a digital assistant, an AI tool, unless you're doing it yourself, because they're going to ask you, your clients, your prospects are going to ask you questions. And, they're going to be like, well, so tell me a little bit more about how you're using this to be more efficient, more productive, more profitable, et cetera, et cetera. And if you can't answer that question, then what are you doing?
Right. And it's
You,
in that doing that you're going to start to identify other things that you could be using AI for. So now that we're aware that the light bulb, the pattern matching, if you will, is, hey, there's sort of a document for this, even if it's in Jennifer's head or it's in my assistant Maria's head. There is a prescribed way that we do this. So, for
right.
example, my email, as you can probably imagine, being an influencer, I get a lot of email, and we have a very detailed SOP on email. I think the email SOP is now like 15 pages long. It's ridiculous. And it's everything from how to handle podcast inquiries to how to check the spam filter, once a week to make sure legit emails didn't get caught up in there. So it's all the things, right? But it's also very prone to human error because it's 15 pages long and because Jennifer likes perfection. I'm not willing to change the documentation. I'm not willing to change my expectations. But all of a sudden, it hit me about 3 weeks ago when I went to Caleb and asked, I'm like, wait a second. I use Outlook. Here's the spam filter I use. Here's the tool stack. Could we take this already written 15-page SOP and teach AI how to manage my inbox? And he's like, yep. And I'm like, and are we looking at 80%-ish accuracy? And he's like, yeah, probably more like 95. And so I went to Maria and I'm like, okay, look, how many hours do you spend on email per day? And she's like, I bet it's 90 minutes. Maybe it's only 60. So I'm like, okay, now I have a number. And I'm like, so I could invest whatever. I don't have a dollar figure on it. Let's pretend like it's $5,000 to spin it up. I kind of doubt it would be less than that, but let's just go with 5,000. I pay Caleb $5,000 and I free up perpetually 5 hours per week of Maria's time. And I'm like, that's that's easy for me. And maybe we even make it self-learning or self-healing or whatever. When we find mistakes, we train it better. And that's the kind of thing that I'm like, humans aren't good at managing Jennifer's inbox because it's so complicated and she expects perfection. So why would maybe we don't assign a human to do that. We repurpose Maria, who's absolutely an A player, and have her learn a new tool or clean up the thing, whatever the thing is, like the never-ending to-do list that we all have. And so again, once you start to pattern match, hey, there's another process that's fairly well documented either on paper or in my head. Could I get AI to do that? Chances are the answer is yes.
We've been wanting to, and I've talked about this a few weeks ago. We've been wanting to put together a report for our sponsors that shows the value that we're providing. That shows where they're able to put certain documents out there, whether it be events, articles, taking a look at podcasts that we do, elevator pitches. And so Talon had put together a while back a very simple table in Excel that allows us just to enter in that information, not pretty whatsoever. And so I took that, put it into ChatGPT and said, I want this report to look pretty. Well, it gave me something that looked like a PowerPoint chart. It wasn't what I was looking for. I threw it
Better.
into Claude. Claude made this look incredible. Now, not only, what it did is it took simply a screenshot and made it into a beautiful looking report, something that I would be very comfortable and proud of us delivering to our sponsors. But then what I said is, okay, I don't want to have to come in here each month and take a screenshot of the spreadsheet, the table, and import it and say, make it look pretty. So I said, I want to be able to use this on a regular basis. I need input fields, and essentially it turned it into a SaaS application. So
Yes.
it allows me to put in the client name. It allows me to put in what package that they have, and each package has different deliverables. And then what it does is it allows you to enter in that data. Now, of course, we're going to be able to tie this in through APIs eventually. But and I said I want to be able to just input this information on a monthly basis. I want to be able to save the report each month. I want to be able to email this report to them each month. And Claude did that for me.
Yes.
So, here is something that there's no way that, it would be accomplished right now. We don't have the talent internally to do development of that,
Right.
but we were able to accomplish that. We were able to do it. And, we now will have this beautiful report that can be done, month after month after month after month, and we can store those reports. And then we're going to continue to take it to the next level. But we got
Yeah.
to think about those type of scenarios. That's an example that how we've used that within everything MSP. And, you go to your MSP client and say, when you take a look at your business, what are you struggling with? Again, we're not talking technology. It's
Yes.
business first, technology second. So if we're asking them about what are your struggles in your business, where are the bottlenecks with your clients in delivering the products and services to your clients? Where are you not being as efficient and productive as you think you might be? And, helping them to use AI, to use automation to be able to accomplish that. And we can help them do the magic behind the scenes. Everybody is hearing all the hubbub of AI is going to take away jobs, AI is going to take this away, and um, you still need AI engineers.
Yes.
And we are those AI engineers as MSPs. We
Yeah.
are those people that can help, make that happen. Because again, let's face it, technology is still technology. They have to deliver their products and services, whatever those products and services are, but that's their focus. That's what's in their wheelhouse. The other things like leveraging those AI tools and how do you use them? Because you take a look at that report that was created. Now, you're not going to just run that out of Claude. You want to put that into, that is browser based. So all that data is stored in the browser. Once you hit refresh, that data is gone. So
Yes.
then you take it to the next level and say, okay, how do I build a database to be able to continue to store this data? Well, there isn't a magic wand. You can't just say, do this for me, package it up 100%, and just, by the end of the day, let it be there. There's still many pieces that are involved in there, and you got to pull them all together. And that's us as MSPs.
Correct. And add in security as a layer, right? Because
Yes.
so like what we're talking about right now is this term called vibe coding. If you've never heard of vibe coding, it's literally you just type into hey, I'm dreaming of creating an app of sorts that does this. And that's it. It just goes and creates it. So vibe coding is a very big thing. I spent 3 hours in a hotel room last week vibe coding a very it's a beautiful app. I had a couple of clients like this is really killer. And they said you must have really put a lot of money into this app. And I'm like, just true story. I spent 3 hours in my hotel room and I'd never used
Yeah.
the tool before. So probably two-thirds of that was a learning curve. Just how do I dialogue to the thing, and I clicked the wrong button, used up all my credits and had to upgrade, all of just the normal stuff. But at the end, inside of 3 hours, I have a tool that MSPs can send ahead of time to say, select your industry, how big is your company, and there's one other like intake thing, and then it walks through what if you were going to leverage. I think it says AI. We could make it say whatever technology. Where would your focus be? And it starts with departments. Would you want to help with marketing, sales, operations, customer service, finance? And then it drills in and says, okay, great, marketing, what's the number one problem or bottleneck you're dealing with? And it's like creating content, creating, brand or whatever. Like it does all this stuff. And it says, great, if you could solve that problem, would that save you time or would it save you frustration? And then so it works, kind of does this whole critical path and says, would you like to talk about another department? And so it just circles back until they say, no, I don't want to talk anymore. It creates a PDF report, which they can download, email to themselves, or email to their MSP. Now the MSP comes in and says, hey, did you have a chance to get some ideas of how you might be able to use automations? And if the client actually did it, they're going to be like, yeah, I'd love to be able to create a bot that does this, or could we fix this problem? And it took me 4 hours. And
Yeah.
it like the conversations have shifted because instead of, have you thought about using it? Let me try to figure out how to teach you. The app is really teaching them how they might be able to use AI. And it's so cool. It's just super fun.
So how do we package this? How do we package this? Because we're so used to, here's our MSP services. Anything that's up and above that is considered a project.
Yep.
So let's talk about packaging and delivering that value.
Yeah, for sure. So there's two different ways to look at this. One is the non-traditional way. I'm gonna give you the friction one first, and then I'll go to the easier. This is gonna feel more natural because it's how you sell right now. The slightly more friction one that's gonna take a little bit of a mindset shift is understand you might have to sell a new client, sell a prospect, a project first. One project. It's a bot, it's a chat bot, it's a widget, it's a thing, right? We're going to sell them a thing. But understand that that essentially is your landing of the client. They now say, okay, Dan did this project for me. He's my AI guy. Let me go back to him when I need the second thing, the third thing, the fourth thing. So it's going to be a project. The second thing might be another project. The third thing might be another project. But eventually, either you're deploying $5,000 projects to this company monthly, or you land on something that has a project plus monthly recurring built in. So it might not be monthly recurring revenue. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because it's easy to become known as the AI expert and still have great profitability. So that's
Yeah.
that's the one that's a little bit more friction filled. The other one, how do you bundle this? I would bundle this under a virtual AI officer. And you just say once a month or once a quarter. It could be a group brainstorming session. Like I know we don't have a bunch of people on camera, but when Dan and I were bantering back and forth about, oh, maybe I could do this, or I did this, or I got this idea. Did anybody get an idea like that you could? I know this is like you never ask someone a question on the witness stand when you don't know the answer, but is anybody willing to say, like, I got an idea that I didn't have before? Nobody? No.
I don't have an idea necessarily, but when you were talking about getting it to go through your email, it's like, why can't that be on the spam filter?
Because that's not what a spam filter does. Like a spam filter isn't going to say, Dan, I'd love to be on your podcast. Here's my press kit. Here's my bio. Here's my calendar. I'm booked out for September, but I'd love to do October. How's that work for you? What are our topics going to be? So it's more than just filing the email in the right folder.
That that part, yeah, but I thought you said you also used it to review stuff that was in spam and see if it was
Yeah,
important or
that's
not.
about this much of the 15-page SOP.
Yeah.
It's how to respond to people who want me to do a webinar, how to respond to client issues, and they aren't supposed to email me. We have a different tool for that. So how do we politely say to the client, kind of like you do, please don't email me, please put in a ticket. It's
Mhm.
that kind, it's like I don't even know how many emails on a daily basis. So yes, spam filter is still going to do the spam filtering, but there's more that this SOP does than just, hey, check the spam filter. So
Hmm.
how you could package it, just going back to Dan's question, is in a virtual AI officer bundle. And if you bundle that with some training and some other things, you're probably looking at a $3,500 a month package that you could put together with just a little bit of thought and effort. And you're cloning your vCISO offering, but you're flexing it to become a virtual AI officer offering. And you literally have conversations like this with your clients, with colleagues. You could probably partner up with other MSPs that have virtual AI officer offerings, and you tag team ideas, conversations like this. And then once you get the flywheel going, you can say, just deployed an AI assistant to a big school in the area. You'll probably see this on their website if you happen to have kids in that school, but their problem was this, and now their outcome is this. And you're taking that project, weaving it into your marketing. And now people are like, wait, I have a daycare. Could you do that for me? 100%. Okay, wait, I don't have a school, but I do have a chiropractor office, and my poor assistant has to answer the same questions. When are you open? How do I schedule a call? Do you take my insurance? I'm saying it like we're all obnoxious patients, but they answer the same 50 questions every day, multiple times a day. And as you're talking about these things, that's when the light bulbs start to go on for you as well as for your clients and your community.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
got
one
one
thing,
client that's got 14 different email accounts because he wants to make his company look bigger than it normally is. And he's constantly complaining why Outlook runs slow. Maybe I'll try and
so these are
explore
fake
something like
people?
this for him. Huh?
Are these fake individuals?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
The AI org chart before creating an AI org chart was really a thing.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, I was just writing down before, for before we were going to jump into something else, you know, MSPs could become digital employment agencies because you take a look at that list of those roles and, you could assist them in hiring an AI staff member, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, the beauty is the sky is the limit.
Yes.
It is but the thing that I want to, make sure of that we all understand is how many of us, and I'll say it's probably pretty safe because none of us are sitting on an island drinking a drink right now. How many of us truly benefited from the dot-com era? Right? How many of us look back and think, I wish I had done something differently during the dot-com era? And when has there been a revolutionary time frame like that?
Yeah.
It is now with
Yes.
AI. It
This
is
is
right
hotter.
now.
Yeah, hotter than cybersecurity, hotter than the cloud. Like, I don't think I've ever seen something like, have you ever had people going, oh, I'd really like to buy blank or deploy blank in the droves? Like 96% of small business owners want to deploy emerging tech. That's
Yeah.
insane. Like that's I've never seen that happen. I mean, even fax machines that were like ubiquitous a few years ago, they took 20 years to reach critical mass. And then for decades, everybody had fax machines. Now, of course, not today,
Mhm.
but it's happening so fast and everybody wants it. They know intuitively there's something to this. It can make me money, save me money, help me grow, help me sell my business and retire. But the question is how? And answering that question is where the revenue potential is for MSPs.
And we are so much at the forefront of this. We should not think like, well, someone can do this on their own. Yeah, maybe some could do this on their own, but so many don't understand this. Again, we take so much for granted. We are technologists. All this stuff we look at and think, oh, there's no potential, there's no opportunity. Somebody can do this on their own. They can figure it out on their own. Some might, but a whole lot cannot. And before it gets easier and easier and easier, where you just think and boom, it just boom, there's magic wand, something
Yes.
happens, do it now. Don't don't hold back.
Yeah, here's a very real example that just happened in the last 45 minutes. So Dan said something about like, I could just, at some point in time, we'll do APIs and blah, blah, blah. Guess who doesn't know how to do API calls? Me. If
Yeah,
I don't know how to do API calls, the majority of your clients don't either. So they might be like, is there a way to like connect this? Yep, there is. You don't have to tell them it's an API call. You don't have to say it's an MCP server if you
right.
know what that is. You don't have to say the how. You're just like, yep, I got you. Because
Yep.
I don't know how to do API calls. Now, could I use Claude or ChatGPT and fumble my way through? Maybe, but it scares me because it's kind of code. And I know, that's powerful and there's security things. And
Yeah.
so I would want someone other than me doing it. But if you guys are like API calls, piece of cake, then understand that that puts you well above the average client. Now, are you going to have the clients like the guy who's like, "Well, I can just manage my own server." Sure,
Mhm.
let them do that. But the majority of your clients are going to be like, "Even if I know how to do an API, it's not the best use of my time. You do
Right.
it for me." Could I
Just because you,
learn X?
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
just because you can doesn't mean you should. And
100%.
in there's many people that value their time, understand the value of their time, understand what is their core business, and just because you can doesn't mean that that's going to be the right way to go.
Yeah.
And we are out of time, and I mean we could just talk until my Zoom account like explodes, and I mean we could continue on this conversation forever, but. Jennifer, as always, I want to thank you for being here with us. Great conversation. Any parting words before we sign off?
The last thing I'm going to say is if you're serious about learning AI and selling it, marketing it, selling it, packaging it, pricing it, reach out to me. I've got a cohort starting for my AI monetization launchpad. The doors are open right now. I only have 20, actually, I only have 18 seats available because they're starting to fill up. Reach out to me in the next day or two because we kick off Tuesday. And it's an 8 week, it's not like we're married for life. And it's an 8 week thing where at the end of it, you walk away, you've got your packaging, your pricing, you've probably sold a couple of deals, you're doing paid discovery. It's massive. The night and day difference between when you walk in and when you leave. So if I can support, let me know.
And look up Jennifer Bleem on LinkedIn to be able to connect with her. Everybody, I want to thank you for your time. As always, until next time, have a great day, you guys. Take care. Thank
So
you.
long.